you speak English at work, do you want to sound smart, sound professional, sound advanced? Do you want to feel confident speaking in any situation? If you said yes, you're in the right place. Today, you're going to fill your vocabulary with words and phrases you can use at work. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Let's review some vocabulary you can use during job interviews and hiring. You can say, I gave my best elevator pitch when we first met. An elevator pitch, this is a noun, it's a something. It's a short, persuasive summary about yourself or your idea. And when I say short, I mean the time you're in an elevator with someone. So usually 30 or 60 seconds long. You need to introduce yourself, the value you'll provide, what you can do in 30 to 60 seconds. That's an elevator pitch. Or maybe a friend says to you, you should dress the part for a management interview.
He even dressed the part.
So here, to dress the part, this is an idiom, and it means to wear clothing appropriate for a role or situation. So if you're applying for a management position, you're going to wear something different than if you were applying for an assistant position. You have to dress the part. How about this? She really did her homework on the company before the meeting. Now notice here, on the company, this is optional. You could just say she really did her homework before the meeting. This is an idiom, to do one's homework. This has nothing to do with an English assignment. This simply means to prepare in advance for any situation by researching. So if you do your homework on a company, you understand the goals of the company, who management is, where they're located, the size, things like that. So when you are interviewing, you can impress them with your knowledge of the company. How about this one? A firm handshake and a smile create a strong first impression. A first impression. This is, of course, the initial opinion someone forms about you. You always want to make a great first impression. Now, don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. And hopefully, I'm making a great first impression with you if this is your first time. If not, hopefully you're enjoying this video. So if you are, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Now let's review this phrase. In an interview, you need to read the room to determine what level of formality to use. This is an important one. This is an idiom, to read the room. This has nothing to do with reading. Remember, idioms have a non-literal meaning. If you read the room, it means you understand the atmosphere and you adjust your behavior accordingly. So if you notice that everyone who is interviewing you is telling jokes, using informal speech, well then you should also be lighthearted, use informal speech, tell a joke if you know one. You need to read the room.
Read the room.
Here's an important one. I sent a follow-up email to thank the recruiter. Now, you can say I sent an email, of course. Adding a follow-up email, this simply is a thank you or a reminder sent after a meeting or interview. So you can send an email anytime, but a follow-up email means that something happened before it, like the interview. So let's say you attend the interview, you get the job, congratulations. So let's move on to some phrases you can use on your first day and during onboarding. So listen to this. The onboarding included a tour and introductions. Onboarding. This is the process of introducing a new employee to the company. So it's when you meet people, you understand the culture, you learn the policies, you fill out all the forms, you get your your security pass, your parking pass, all of that is involved in onboarding. Or how about this? There were some icebreakers during orientation or during onboarding. Orientation is a replacement word. Now, icebreakers, that represents an activity or a game to help people feel comfortable in a group. So it's commonly done when people are meeting for the first time, or even when people who have met before start a meeting or even at a party. You have some icebreakers.
How about an icebreaker?
How about this? The office has a business casual dress code. You definitely need to know the dress code. You can ask that during onboarding or during orientation. So the dress code, this represents the rules about what employees can wear at work. So maybe at your office, for some reason, you're not allowed to wear bright colors. You have to wear black. That would be part of the dress code. Here's a common one. Senior management hosted a meet and greet for new hires.
So first up, meet and greet.
A meet and greet. Notice how I pronounced "an." When you have "an" between two nouns or two verbs, you can pronounce it just as meet and greet. You can absolutely say meet and greet, but that's not how a native would say it. A native would say meet and greet, meet and greet. This is an informal session where people introduce themselves. So they meet for the first time and they greet each other. That's a meet and greet. Now, in the first few days or months of joining a company, you might say, I'm still learning the ropes in my department. Do you know this one? This is an idiom to learn the ropes. It means to learn how a job or system works. You need to learn the ropes. Now, we already reviewed this, but just again, she made a good impression by arriving early. So before we focused on just first impression, but notice you can also make and then any adjective impression. And this, in the positive, means to create a positive opinion early on. So impression represents opinion, but you can also make a terrible impression by arriving late and not following the dress code, not dressing the part. So you want to make a positive impression. Now let's review some phrases for asking for or offering help. You may know this one. Can you give me a hand? Can you give me a hand with these reports? So to give someone a hand, this means to help with a task. Can you give me a hand with, and then you specify the something.
Can you give me a hand?
How about this one? Could you point me in the right direction for the budget file? Do you know this one? To point someone in the right direction. This is very commonly used, and it means to show or guide someone toward the correct way or place. It's often used in giving directions. Can you point me in the direction of the museum? Can you show me where the museum is? But you can also use it in the workplace to represent a task or a process. How about this one? Can you back me up during the meeting? Ooh, do you know this one? To back someone up, can you back me up? Can you back her up? So you need that someone up. This means to support someone's idea or statement. So if I ask you to back me up, it sounds like I'm going to share a new idea or suggest a change in the meeting, and I want you to say, that's a good idea, or yes, we should consider that. Here's a must-know phrase. My boss walked me through the new software process. So to walk someone through something. In this case, the something was the new software process. And this simply means to explain. Can you explain? But you do it step by step. So it sounds like I want an in-depth explanation. It's extremely commonly used in a workplace situation. This is also a great one to know. Can you cover for me? Can you cover for me while I'm at lunch? So to cover for someone, this means to do someone's work temporarily. Well, in this case is while the person is at lunch. So if you work in a restaurant and you're a server and you want to go eat something because you're really hungry, but you have tables that are waiting for food, waiting for water, waiting for the bill. So you would ask another coworker to cover for you. This is also extremely common. Keep me in the loop about or on the project changes.
Please keep me in the loop.
So there are two acceptable prepositions, about or on. It doesn't matter which one you use. To keep someone in the loop means to share updates or information about something. Let's review some phrases you can use while participating in meetings. Maybe you say to someone, or you hear your boss say, feel free to chime in if you have any ideas. Feel free to chime in, extremely common. This means to join or add to a conversation. So it's another way of saying feel free to share. Feel free to share any ideas you have. Feel free to chime in. Or maybe someone says, let's make sure we're on the same page before moving on. You may know this one, to be on the same page. If you're on the same page as someone, it means you have the same understanding or agreement.
We're on the same page.
So you both agree that you should cancel the event. You're on the same page. Here's a great one. She took the floor to explain the plan. To take the floor. You'll hear this a lot, especially if there are many people in a meeting, and it means to begin speaking to a group. So when someone takes the floor, it means now it is that person's turn to either formally present or just informally share their ideas. Here's one you should know. I'd like to raise a point about the deadline. So to raise a point, this means to bring up an idea or concern. Now, if people are talking about the deadline, you can say, I'd like to chime in about the deadline. I'd like to share my opinion. But in this case, you can also say, I'd like to raise a point. And in that meeting, you're going to be waiting for your boss or the person leading the meeting to say, let's wrap up so we can go to lunch. To wrap up means to finish a discussion or meeting. So it's another way of saying, let's end this conversation so we can go to lunch. Let's wrap up.
Let's wrap it up.
Maybe your coworker says to you, he gave us actionable advice for the presentation. So here, he gave us advice. You're just adding actionable. This is advice that can be used quickly and practically. So it makes it sound very positive. Or maybe as you're presenting, you can say, I appreciate constructive criticism of my idea. Criticism is negative. It's negative commentary. But if you add on constructive criticism, it's still negative, but you're sharing that with the intention of improving something. So you're providing this negative feedback, but your goal is to help. So you have a positive goal. You're not doing it to be mean, like you see a lot of people in YouTube comments. They're just being mean. It's not constructive. Maybe someone says the proposal has room for improvement in the timeline of the deliverables. So room for improvement. This means there is opportunity to make something better. And notice you need the verb have. This has room for improvement. So maybe they'll give you some constructive criticism. Now let's review some phrases for workplace socializing. Of course, you want to get to know the people you work with in a more casual social environment. So you might say, want to grab coffee after the meeting? Now notice this sounds more casual. I'm dropping do you which is very commonly done, and I'm just starting with the verb. Want to grab coffee. So to grab coffee, this means to go get coffee and is often used socially.
You want to go grab a coffee?
Or maybe you suggest to your coworker, let's take a coffee break at 10 or a specific time. So a coffee break, this is of course a short break to have coffee. So if you just say, let's take a break, well, maybe you just sit there stuck on your phone or you check your email. But a coffee break, there's the expectation you will leave your desk and get coffee. So it's more social. And at any point, if you want to socialize with anyone at work, including your boss and more senior people, just ask them, how's your day going so far? How's your day going so far? This is casual, but it's friendly and absolutely appropriate even in a formal situation. And this simply is to ask someone about the status of something. Now, in this case, the something was, how's your day going so far? But you could replace your day with, how's the project going so far? How's the report going so far? Or again, anytime you want to strike up a conversation, which means to start a conversation, you can ask, what's going on? What's going on with? And then something. What's going on with the conference? So this is to ask about the status of something. And now, if someone asks you, how's your day going so far? And you want to reply simply, but naturally, you can say, pretty good. Can't complain, can't complain. This is a neutral or positive response to how are you or how's it going? Because if you can't complain, it means that there are no problems, there's no difficulty, there's no issues. So it's either neutral or it can be positive. Can't complain.
I can't complain.
Or if you see a client or a coworker that you haven't seen in a long time, you can say, hey, long time no see. Long time no see. And then you could ask them, how have you been? How have you been? Because it's the present perfect, you're asking about the past until now, rather than just saying, how are you, which focuses on now. And of course, long time no see, this is said when you haven't seen someone for a long time, and it's just acknowledging that. Now let's review some phrases for workplace events and time off. Maybe someone asks you, have you RSVP'd for the company picnic? Have you RSVP'd? This is a verb, to RSVP, but notice I have that apostrophe D. That's to show the verb is in the past simple. That's used when you have an acronym, like in this case. Have you RSVP'd? So you add a soft D. And this means to respond to an invitation to confirm if you will attend. So you RSVP by saying, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Or maybe someone asks you, can you do a head count before lunch? If you're planning the company picnic or any other event. So to do a head count, this means you literally count how many heads there are because every person has one head. So it's to count how many people will attend. You don't actually have to count their heads, you just count one person. Or maybe you say to your coworker, I'm taking the day off tomorrow. So I'm taking the day off, to take time off. This means to not go to work. Now, maybe because you have a medical appointment, maybe family is visiting, maybe you just want a day to relax, whatever the reason is.
Take the day off with me.
But it's not usually because you're sick, because we have a different expression. You would say, I had to call in sick on Monday. I had to call in sick on Monday. So here, to call in sick. This is when you tell your boss you're sick and cannot come to work. Now, although it uses the verb call, you could text or write an email, but the phrase is the same. Now, if you did take some time off, maybe you say, my time off really helped me recharge my batteries. So to recharge one's batteries, in this case, my batteries, and batteries is always in the plural, it means to rest and regain energy, which is exactly what a day off can do for you. Or maybe you tell your coworker, we're heading to the cottage for the long weekend. So we're heading to, this is another way of saying we're going to, and for the long weekend. So of course, you know, the weekend in North America is Saturday, Sunday. A long weekend, so adding long before weekend, this is a weekend extended by a public holiday. Most likely it's Monday is the holiday, but sometimes it's Friday. So a long weekend would become Saturday, Sunday is your regular weekend, and then Monday is a public holiday, so you don't have to work, and that's a long weekend because you get 3 days instead of 2. Woohoo!
So have a great long weekend.
Now maybe you say, I need to use up my vacation days by the end of the year. So your vacation days, it could be singular. Maybe you just have one vacation day. This is the number of paid days off you are entitled to. So you may have a contract or an agreement. Paid days off. That is a vacation day. You get to relax at home in your pajamas and you still get paid. How awesome is that? I don't get any vacation days because I work for myself. Let's review some phrases you can use to talk about performance or motivation. She hit the ground running on her first day. Do you know this one? To hit the ground running. This means to start a job quickly and effectively.
I'm gonna hit the ground running.
Or maybe you say the manager set the tone for open communication. Open communication means you are welcome to communicate freely. To set the tone, this means to establish the mood or style for something. And in this case, it's open communication. You can just come give me constructive criticism and I welcome it. It's open communication. Or maybe you say, I'm still getting acquainted with the new process. So to get acquainted with something, this means to become familiar with people or systems. How about this? Consistent positive reinforcement keeps the team motivated.
It's about offering positive reinforcement.
So positive reinforcement. This represents encouragement by highlighting strengths. That's the positive part. Or maybe you say, she always goes the extra mile for her clients. To go the extra mile. This means to do more than is required. So it's a very positive thing. Or maybe you tell your boss, we worked late yesterday and now we're ahead of schedule. Oh, this is a positive thing. I love being ahead of schedule. So to be ahead of schedule, this means to finish a task or project earlier than the planned time. It's a very positive thing. Or how about this? He took initiative and solved the issue before it got worse. So to take initiative, take is your verb that you conjugate. This means that you act without being told or waiting for permission. So if you see that there's a problem, but your boss is busy with something, you just go solve the problem and then you tell your boss that you solved it. You don't wait for your boss to come give you permission, you just do it. And that's a very positive quality as well. Now your vocabulary is filled with words and phrases you can use at work. Do you want me to keep teaching you more vocabulary? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.